I get it. Indiana's legit, dominant. But does that mean that Oklahoma wasn't worthy of the playoff after all because Alabama didn't get it done? We're going to have to talk about that.
Well, dumbass.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a moment of Hall of Fame college football. Welcome into the show, everybody. Uh, yeah, big day yesterday, college football playoff. Portal opens today. Already got Taylor Tatum adding his name to the list of 11 that had went in the day before that. I don't know what the exact total is. I was just about to count that. Let's see. Let's see what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 22 if you add, let's see, I think Taylor's in that one. Just to make sure. No, this will be 22. 22. 22. 22. Listen, aside from Marcus Strong and really, I felt like Michael Hawkins was going to be an important keep. Aside from those guys, along with Malik Hawkins, probably, and some, Logan Howland, maybe. There's not a ton of guys in so far that you're freaking out about, right? But that being said, I get it. Like, you had to kind of have to Big Lubbock coming to cut. You know what? I'm hoping that Big Lubbock comes in just so I can talk him off the ledge, just in case. No, listen. As far as the portal goes, we'll get into it as we go along. I don't think there's any new huge news that or anything that I have. Should I know? Okay, Chris and Mr. Mason were on last night. I honestly was busy with not watching it. So I can't tell you exactly any news that. I mean, he hasn't had anything that I noticed he hadn't already talked about. So it is what it is, guys. We're gonna have to just kind of wait and see kind of what happens. Obviously, they were already looking to probably shore it up that running back room as far as Taylor Tatum goes. I told you the other day that I felt like it would have been a good keep. You know, it would have been a good keep just by virtue of what his upside is. But if he's not going to be in, he's not. It doesn't really help for him to be in Norman. He was on the sideline. He didn't get in. I think I saw him. He had one carry all year. So look, it is what it is. It is what it is. And hey, what's up, Dwayne? Good to see you, man. Let's see. I'm going through and say hello to everybody, and then we'll get to talking about some of this other stuff. Sugoi, good to see my man. True Oki. Yep. Brandon Snake. Let's see who else we got. Just you guys talking back and forth in there. All right. My guns. S4L. Dave's here. No, Signetti the asshat is a magical coach, not like the good coach, but one who uses some sort of black magic. It's all wizardry. Monty Cisco, my guy. What's up, dog? Good to see you. Kyle Dupuis. Sweet. Yeah, listen. It is what it is. Crucifix item. Spaghetti. What up? Monty says Devon, Jordan, and Marcus Strong biggest surprises to me. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I would say I don't know how much it's a surprise for Devon, just in view of the fact that, man, you've got back to back years where you have freshman All American corners that are, appear to be probably, you know, entrenched. Plus, you've got more guys. So, I don't know how much of a surprise it was. I think it sucks. He's a Tulsa guy. Tulsa dudes kill it at Oklahoma. So, hate that. But yeah, well, look, the system being broken. Let's talk about that. Bishop Frank, good to see you, my man. Sooner in Texas, Kolb, Dilligaff, C. Atkins. What if there's C. Atkins? Keith Holcomb. Hey, welcome in, man. Sorry about your tide yesterday. And sorry that it's coming off on us too. Boomer Halen, my dude, Austin Hill, Benji, Ryman Lemon, my guy. Only surprises on the outgoing for me was K Mac. Everything else was thrown. Was known or makes sense. Okay. Look, I don't think that you could be that surprised about anything at this point. Anybody who jumps in. Let's go back to this for a second. System being broken when you have players literally entering minutes after a loss. Look, this is a business now. That's the one thing you have to remember is that this is a business. And the business for one of these players that isn't playing or not getting enough time or not getting enough money, plus they're also being, advised to do such things at the right times to, get their name out there. Look, it is what it is. Um, and again, you know what? Some of this stuff it could be worked on, and it means that the schools themselves are going to have to give up a little bit of the power. Not that they have a ton of it at this point, and just collectively bargain. I think if you can't half-ass go into NFL model and then expect it to work. I've said all this shit till I'm blue in the face. Hey, Mary J, good to see you. She said good morning, RTR as always. Yep. Is what it is. Yeah, you know what it is. Kind of what it is. Lane got him a $500,000 payday. We're going to talk about that. How does he look right now? He's a better get than Cam Coleman for us. Who's a better get than Cam Coleman? Turpin. What's up there, Jeremiah Turpin? No, you cannot. You cannot. And I've been saying this a lot. Look, I've said a lot of this shit Tom Blue in the face, and I went on a rant about it the other day. So let me do this one more time. I don't want to hear shit about players getting blamed. I mean, and I'll just say Monty's my boy and all, but I'm just going to say I don't want to hear this shit. I don't want to hear how it's a problem with 4 players. You know what? They haven't made a single rule. Not one rule that is governing the sport of college football has been made by a player. They don't get to decide on any of that shit. So how it works out and the way that the courts work it out and the NCAA and everybody else, it's on them. There are plenty of ways that it could be back under quote unquote control of the colleges if they gave up more money and wanted to call them actual employees. You want to treat them like employees, but you don't want to actually have them as employees. You want them to have to treat you as a boss, but you don't want to, give them all the benefits of being an employee. It can't be both ways, folks. It just can't be both ways. And that's about as easy as I could put it. It's about as easy as I can put it. And, all this shit that you hear in the off season, you'll hear more of it this year. That College Sports Commission, whatever it was, and they had this czar that was going to take it over, and that was going to be the enforcement arm. They ain't enforcing shit. And the reason they ain't enforcing shit is because nothing that they have done is it doesn't even fit muster to get to a court decision. It just doesn't do it. It never passes any of that shit to where you can actually go in there and a judge can look at this and be like, yeah, you're not fucking them over. And guess what? They've been doing it for decades. Only nobody called them on it. Nobody made them step up and do what they needed to do. I don't want to hear about players. I don't want to hear about players and how screwed up they are. I just don't. Listen, look, I 100% agree with what you're saying. Look, it can, all right. My concern is what are we teaching these kids about how to deal with any kind of adversity, to flight and not to fight. There is that. But Monty, you have to remember that not all the time are these guys going into the portal because they want to be in the portal. They're being pushed into the portal by coaches and that's just how it is. They are actually being pushed into the portal almost, in fact, more times than they're not being pushed into the portal. Of all these 22 guys, I would venture to say that there have been at least, I should say at least, hints from the coaching staff for most of them to go. And that includes Michael Hawkins. And hell, it ain't even a hint with him. It's like, well, we ain't going to fucking play you. Our quarterback can be broken in half and throwing interceptions because he can't get anything on the ball. He doesn't have a grip. But you're still going to sit on that fucking bench. He had to go. But they will literally go and tell him, we'll help you get somewhere else. But the kids are always going to be the ones that announce it. Because part of it is, number one, the coaches aren't going to announce it because they don't want to look bad in telling you the truth and being transparent of what it is that they're trying to do. They love always having the 1 year scholarship thing where they can kick your ass out of there anytime they want and they can reload. And if you're not playing nowadays with NIL and revenue share as well, there's a budget that you got to stick to. So they're a lot of times being told to leave. End of story. End of story. So, and the kids are going to say that I'm entering my name in the portal because they don't want to look like they suck more than they already do for not playing or whatever. Right? It's it's a double-headed, it's two heads of it. But it's all, again, they deserve every dollar that they get. And the schools have been robbing them of money for years. Getting rich off of the backs of these players. So it is what it is. Look, do I think that it hurts players to jump from school to school to school to school? I do think so. I do think it does. I think that development is hurting. I think that, uh, dealing with the problems and learning how to deal with problems, it hurts. I mean, I get it. I'm not saying that there's not downsides to this for the kids. But the downside isn't the money that they can make, or it's not about the fact that the school did this or did that. Because, I mean, I don't want to hear about the investment shit because a lot of times the investment doesn't match what they could get. And you know what? Just like any of us that's had jobs, I mean, you leave for another dollar an hour or 50 cents an hour a lot of times. It'll happen. Loyalty is, I mean, it is what, yeah. And loyalty goes two ways. There's not a lot of loyalty coming from either side. So that's where I'm at on it. And that's as far as I can go. Loyalty. Hawk was told to leave because of drama? No, that's do you listen? What were they telling him by not putting him on the fucking field? When the starter was hurt, clearly hurt, not even just his hand, his leg, he wasn't even running that good. When you know that if you have not watched KJ Daniels' video of Michael Hawkins throwing fucking dimes all over the field, and then him never playing, all year when we know that Mateer was not only hurt but terrible because of the injury or not, or there's plenty of things that go into that. If you know that, then you know that that was the signal the only signal he needed, other than when he found out that Mateer is clearly coming back. What else? What other signal would you need? Do you need the words? Is that not pushing him out? Because that's pushing him out to me, bud. It's wild shit. Come on. Yep. Did I ignore something? Hey man, there's a shit ton of stuff in here. What do you want me to say? The problem with the portal isn't the moving of teams; it's the lack of skin in the game to jump teams anymore. There's no loss of eligibility for a season for the move. Okay, that you know what that has again. That's all about. They've decided all this. That shit in the past wasn't fair either. Just because it just because it was going on, and you had teams like Alabama and Georgia or whoever's winning at the time able to stack players for 4 years and they couldn't go anywhere. That wasn't fair to them then. It may have been good for fans of Alabama because they get to win every year. That didn't make it right. See, y'all got me on my fucking soapbox here. I'm off of it. I'm off it, man. All I can say is this is the way it is. This is the new way of college football, and you either get on board with it or stop watching it because it's not going to change. It's not going to change. We have to evolve the way that we consume the sport, just like it's evolving as a sport. And I'll tell you, what up there, coach? I'll tell you this: in the end, when you start thinking about if it's really so bothersome, and man, more people are watching this shit every day. And the other part of it is for the teams that haven't been winning national championships. I don't know what you're so upset about because you know now you can't stack people for 4 years 4 years ahead. Can't do it. So these kids can move around. It has evened out. I mean, shit, if Indiana blowing out fucking Alabama yesterday doesn't tell you that the portal has evening out the damn field, what else would? What else would? Get old Parker Livingstone? Is he leaving? Kyle Parker is top priority in your eyes. Let's see. Oh man, you guys are so far ahead of me here. Let me see what we got here. Whoa. hmm They've always been under 1 year scholarships. That's the whole point. It's why I'm saying you just cannot do that. That is not factual. You know what, bro? That's not factual. That because there wasn't an actual promise. What did BV say? What did BV say? He said that they were going to do their best to not have to play him as where he wouldn't be able to redshirt. They were, but with being competitive, you never know. He was going to be available. You never know if they lost. I mean, obviously, if Mateer would have went to the point that I guess he would have had to have been in a fucking wheelchair to not go in. But you know, if that would have been to that point, then that would have been that way. Don't give me that bullshit because that wasn't a promise. Come on, Ryman. No, no, no. You're not. We're not going there. We're not going there because that was never promised to anybody. They promised that they were going to try, but had Mateer not been able to go into a game, they would have played him. If he'd already played four, they wouldn't have given a fuck. They would have played him. They would have burned that red shirt in a heartbeat. And don't get it twisted and think that they wouldn't have. That's just bullshit. Straight up. You disagree if you want to, but you better go back and listen to what was actually said. You're just assuming that was the big promise, and that's why. And that's the problem with listening to this staff, because they say a lot of nothing shit when they go out there. They get asked a question and they beat around the bush about it, or not directly lie, but not directly tell you the truth either. That's not factual at all whatsoever. Challenge me on it some more. Hey, what up with this? Yes, they did. However, they are still one of the best teams in college football. They're just not as dominant, and that's what Bama fans are going to have to realize. Both what? Where's mine? Where was the drama with Hawk? His dad crashing out on X? I don't know that there was that. I mean, he did. They him and his mom were both on Twitter that night. The LSU game. I don't know that you could blame him for it. Why do they need Coleman? Who says they do? Oh shit! I don't know where Big Lubbock's at, man. I hope he's alive. I hope he didn't. I hope he didn't jump off of a fucking bridge. No, you didn't listen to it correctly. Then that was not said. It was never said that they promised that they were going to uphold his red shirt. The promise was to try. Go back and look. Go back and look. I'm not going to do it for you. You go back and look. I know what was said, and so do you. That's not a fact. You know it's not a fact, and I know it's not a fact. We're not going to agree to disagree. You're wrong. Yeah, I've heard from Coach Dent. I'm not going to agree to disagree, though, buddy. Sorry. Love you, bro, but it's got to be real. Mary J says, general statement: nobody will have the same team next year, especially with the evolution of the portal and NIL. Agree. CFB will never be the same, and we have to learn the new program ourselves. Yeah, look, you're not going to unring the bell. I'll give you that one, Mary J. The bell is not going to be unrang at any point, and you're not going to put your finger in the dam and stop the water either. It's the changes that could be made, should be made, whatever, and this is all subjective to, is always going to be dependent. It will never really get done until you have collective bargaining. And as long as college football as a whole, at the top, where the NCAA is concerned, where the coaches, the schools, athletic directors, presidents, conferences, and the NCAA, as long as they don't want them to be in any way, shape, or form be considered employees, that's the way it's going to be. Now, is there ways that they could be employees and you could still get an exemption? The NFL has exemptions on taxes. There's tax exemptions there. They can find a way, but it's going to require that you have collective bargaining. But they don't want to do that shit. They do not want to do that shit. And so it is what it is, man. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you. I wish I had a crystal ball and could tell you why or when. There's going to be changes, but it's going to continue to change. It's going to evolve and evolve and evolve. But until the people that are making rules, which is not players, decide to make changes, and the ones that are going to be lasting changes, that actual attorneys and labor people and stuff like that know how it works, I mean, because there's lots of shit to it and there's ways around it. But until you have where the adults in the room are actually, you know, realizing that this is what we're going to have to do in order for it to be right and fair and all that other shit, because fair is not a word that really fits here, then it's not going to change, man. They're enjoying the benefits of all the legal. Absolutely correct. Christopher Shannon, you say something good on here. There you go. That's it. Thank you. Did he get an ass whipping yesterday? Yeah, I don't know. The NIL is not technically from the school. I guess the school can they can route it through the school or whatever, and I don't know how that benefits them versus doesn't benefit them, but they're making all these rules where you can route it through there so they can use it as an enticement. But it's not supposed to be. It's not. It is not part of the revenue share. I'll tell you that much. It is not. So this is why, if you're Texas Tech, you can go get Skull Drug in the Orange Bowl, and for $50 million, because they have the 20 million in revenue share and spend another 30. It is what it is. How about them Texas Tech Red Raiders? Wow. What up there, Killer Horse? My guns. Um, I mean, it's easy. It's easy to look backwards. It's easy to look backwards. Uh, Coach was in here a second ago. I don't know if he's still here. Sorry, I don't know if he's still here or not. But the man behind the man. That's a tough deal. It's a tough deal. I don't know that, and I'm not. I don't want to do the knee jerk reaction thing to what happened yesterday. Man, they got beat by a better football team. They got beat by a better football. They lost their quarterback pretty early on. I mean, they were already down pretty much, but they should have probably pulled him before they did. Austin Mack looks like he could have been a dude, but here's the thing: what they do very well. Do I think that they're the best, the most talented team? No, but they do. I mean, I'm going to eat some crow here. I thought Alabama was going to roll over their asses because of talent. I absolutely did. In the end, again, I got to eat crow here. They beat the shit out of them. And Bama played bad. Bama got made to play bad. You can't make the excuse of we gave them this, we gave them that. They fucking whipped your ass. And I mean, it is what it is. Now, am I going to do this thing of you got to fire Kalen DeBoer? Nope, I'm not. He said it himself that there's got and if you think about it, something that actually I was talking to Den about last night. To me, it would be a lot of it is, first off, if you think about his team at Washington, right? You can say that all that talent's there that Saban got there, but they don't do things the same way that Saban and them did it. So it makes me wonder why Greg Byrne decided to go with the guy that's basically opposite of what the guy that's been there winning does. Right? Not being able to run the ball when you've got the kind of offensive lineman they have, I don't understand. But they don't have the type of talent. They don't have, like the linemen. They won the Joe Moore Award a couple of years ago when they were in the final, when they made it to the championship, right? Well, those linemen were 305, not 330, not 350, right? More quickness. They could do more things than the, not say anything bad about the linemen at Bama, but they were built differently and they were doing things differently. So that shit matters. So to me, it's not as, I think, coach has been kind of reducing it down to you can't follow that guy. And to some extent, I completely agree with that. 100%. See, he's back. He's still here. Um, it is what it is, but it's just different. And so until he's got his guys, it's tough to like completely judge it. Is he going to get an opportunity to get that far? Probably not. Probably not. I think that making the playoff, especially now, making the playoff isn't exactly what it was before. It was a 14 playoff. Now it's a 12-team playoff. They're probably going to go to 16. Making the playoff isn't going to have the same shine, right? It's not, and especially not at Alabama, where okay, cool, you had a 10-win season. We're used to 11 and 12-win seasons and natties, not first round or second round exits from the playoffs. Get the fuck out of here. I think a lot of it depends on how patient are they, and we know that the fan base there is not patient. It is what it is. We'll have to wait and see. And see, here's the point. Dave, perfect. That's what I'm saying. To me, I said this to Coach yesterday. It was like, I don't understand why you would go and make that higher and not get either somebody from his tree or somebody who does things the same way. They're a run first guy. Like the defense part of it, Kane Womack, I think, is really good. But when's the last time before Kane Womack got there? I don't remember seeing them in a fucking zone package probably ever. They're a man football team. Their secondary was going to man you up. If you can't stomach, but yeah, you're right. If you can't stomach the cost of change, you're right. You're right. We scored like we played. On the bright note, Ryan Williams played great last night and caught his passes. Yeah, well, I mean, no touchdowns, but I mean, if Ryan Williams has a good game and you get beat 38-3, not for nothing, but I don't know, man. I'm not going to sit here and tell you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think they have to fire him right now, and I don't think that they're going to fire him right now either. I think it'd be wild, but a ton of D talent. But again, you go in and you change the type of. I mean, Kane Womack was not in the Saban school of playing defense. He runs a zone look. I mean, always. They go to some man sometimes, which seems to be helpful when they do, but they don't ever stay in it. Yeah, but Bama fans won. Won't put up for long. Oh yeah, won't. Yeah. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? They didn't have a run game, and he was still able to go and put up numbers. I mean, plain and simple. A little bit. A little bit. Except they're better on offense than that last part of the season. But running the football, definitely. Yeah. $500,000 Lane got for that playoff win. Which, by the way, shout out to Ole Miss. Shout out to Ole Miss. What a game. And all you Big Ten people that are, sitting there talking all this shit today. First off, Ohio State. Okay. Natch. Number two, everybody better be glad that Ole Miss and Georgia weren't on opposite sides of this bracket. Because it might be a whole new story. Now, Ole Miss still has to get through Miami, which isn't going to be easy either. Miami's legit. Their lines of scrimmage are going to match up with anybody's. But the way that Ole Miss fought, came back, and I mean, look, shit, Georgia's been dealing with people coming back or them. I mean, going ahead of them and them having to come back and win most for a large part of the year. And they'd kind of stopped doing that and were just putting their foot on people's neck. They couldn't get these guys to go away. And Trinidad Chambliss is a bad dude. That's the best quarterback in the country to me. He's aside from that fourth quarter that he didn't look great in against Georgia earlier in the year. When has he not been fantastic? And they had him dead to rights how many times last night and couldn't get him down. And he'd just go complete a pass. Plus, Keywan Lacey's a bad dude. Hey, they're legit. They're legit, man. No doubt about it. Yeah. How much of that has to do though? How much of that has to do with a that George? You said the other day that don't change your mind here now like that, Coach George. You said the other day that Georgia's playing the best in the country. They have been. They have been. If they're playing anybody but Ole Miss yesterday, do they lose? I don't know that they do. No. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna do all the. I'm not gonna do the a lot of revisionist history that we try to do. Dude, he did. He was. I mean, you couldn't get him down. I mean, it looked like he was dead ass to rights, and he would. Dude, that play that he made where he rolls out to the left. There's a guy coming from the end, so he jumps up, then jumps back because they're coming back from the backside, and then he looks like he's killed by that edge guy, and he flicks it sideways. I mean, shit. Then the very next play, he rolls around all the way back to the damn end zone and fires the ball. They barely get the first down, but like, man, all kinds of yardage being going on that play. Well, it is what it is, man. You're never gonna know. Well, he gets. I think he gets a total of what $1 million if they win it, or 2 million maybe. He'll still get money out of it, but yeah, yeah, especially if they don't hurry up and win one at LSU. Which again, I'm just gonna say this: Lane ain't won shit. And just because you should win at LSU don't mean you're gonna. Vince Young didn't run backwards. You can talk shit if you want to, man. He made plays. That's all he did was make plays. And Vince Young ran whichever the hell way he wanted to make it happen. And it was a Vince Young like type of. Hey, you know what, dude? Penn State, I'm not dealing with your stupid ass today. But since you brought it up, we'll go there. We'll go there. This revisionist history and this let's you know go in and take everything away from what the team has done all fucking year because they lose a playoff game and all that shit is getting absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And right now, if you go into the description right now, I've got the first part of probably what's going to end up being three or four or five columns about the industrialized playoff, the playoff industrial uh shit. What am I saying? The playoff industrial complex is what I'm talking about. And essentially, what I want to get into, and it's pretty simple, it's how college football became it's content instead of competition. It doesn't have anything to do with the competition when it comes to all these fans. We're over here talking about it's divisive too, and it's damn sure divisive. But it's not divisive because it's unfair. It's it's become divisive because division has become the most valuable asset of college football. That's what it is. That's probably, I'm reading kind of the lead to you at this point. But, you know, it's just fuel for the argument is basically what it amounts to. All this shit is fuel for arguments that we want to have back and forth and all that other shit. And the truth is, you can I'm going to say it this way. When it comes to Alabama, look, Alabama had an up and down season, but it damn sure had a season that was worthy of the playoff. I don't give a shit. You can't go back and look, and I'm saying this to you, Coach. You can't go back and look at what they did today and say, well, that means that they shouldn't have been in the fucking playoff. We cannot continue doing this. Because all it is, this is just more ways for, this is more ways for it to be more and more and more popular. And you're taking away from what these players do. It takes away from Indiana to do that shit. It takes away from Indiana to do that shit. And like, I definitely don't want to hear that because Oklahoma lost to fucking Alabama in the college football playoff. And yeah, they had a 17-point lead. Yeah, they blew the game. That doesn't mean that they didn't do enough to get there to the playoff. They're a 10-2 team that played the toughest schedule. Them and Alabama played toughest schedules in the conference. And both finished 10-2. Now, Alabama got an extra loss because they went to the conference championship game. I'm not going to sit here and argue all that other shit. The point I'm trying to make is if they were good enough, even after that loss to Florida State in the first game of the year, if that was still good enough when you go and look at the totality of a 3-month schedule, which you need to do, they were able to beat Georgia on the road. Georgia damn sure deserved to be in it. They didn't lose another conference game other than the one that Oklahoma came in and beat them, and that was a great football game. A whole 3 months is not a race because Indiana has a better football team. And I'm hearing all these Notre Dame people are the ones leading the fucking charge here. Or BYU and Utah fans. All right, BYU and Utah fans, I got to tell you, because you went and won the fucking Pop-Tarts Bowl over Georgia Tech, or Utah goes and beats a shitty Nebraska team, you're going to tell me that you deserve to be in instead of Oklahoma and Alabama? Fucking get out of here with that shit. Your conference ain't that good. See Texas Tech. And beating Nebraska was 10th in the Big Ten out of 19 teams, 18 teams, whatever it is. They got their ass throttled in the conference championship. I don't care, Coach. I don't fucking care. That doesn't take away from the rest of their year. They still only had one loss, and with one of the toughest schedules, it was them and Oklahoma that had the two toughest schedules in the SEC. They had one loss in their SEC season. They would have won if they didn't have a championship game. They would have been conference champions. It's dumb to go back and do this, though. It's dumb to go back and do this. The one thing I'll say about BYU, and I said this before too, they're the ones that have really gotten screwed when it comes to you shouldn't be, quote unquote, punished for losing your conference championship game, because they did get punished. But had they not got punished, they would have been in over you instead of Miami. Or should have been in over you instead of Miami. They may not have been, but they should have been. That's the point. All this stuff, I will sit here. I can make arguments for every side of it. And like I said, we said this the other night on the show. If anything is wrong with what's going on in the playoff, it's the selection process. I'll give you that. But to go back particularly for a Notre Dame fan, and I'm going to say this and probably piss you off, I don't fucking care. if you're going to go back as a Notre Dame fan when your school doesn't even decide to go and play in a damn bowl game, but because Alabama lost and it played in the conference championship game, which is another thing you don't play in, they're supposed to get punished, but you're not supposed to get punished for not playing in a conference championship game and deciding not to play in a bowl game because you're mad? Come on. Come on. Nobody wants to hear that. You don't think the SEC is what it used to be. I'm going to tell you, until somebody goes through the SEC, you can say that all you want to. They're still the best conference. They're still the best conference. Go through and tell me that the Big Ten is so great. Guess what? That ACC non-champion Miami that beat you earlier in the season, coach, they just beat the shit out of the defending national champions. The number 2 team that didn't move at all when they got beat by Indiana. But guess what? Outside of those 2 teams, and I go through and look at some of the stuff that I was compiling whenever I started this story last night, which is wild. Let's just let me see where we're at here. Let me find this. All right, Indiana. They're proving their ranking. I'm not saying anything bad about Indiana, but let's just talk about how they work in the freaking league. Number one, though, let's just say this. They've talked about going 5-0 in the Big Ten. 4 of those 5 wins, those 4 of the 5 first bowl games or playoff game, as it were against group of 5 schools. Minnesota needed overtime to beat the Lobos. What? Minnesota gave Indiana one of its best games this year. They needed overtime to beat the Lobos. Washington, they were number 8, I think, in the conference. Yeah, they beat Boise. Yay. Northwestern, number 9, I believe, in the conference. They beat that killer team out there, Central Michigan, the Chippewas. I don't want to hear about how great that fucking league is, because it isn't. So the bottom line is, however you want to talk about it, if you want to change the selection process, I'm 100% on board. 100%. I will continue to tell you 100% that yes, they need to change the selection process. But you're not going to come in here and tell me after the fact, when you didn't even play a game, coach. Notre Dame didn't play a conference championship like Bama, and they didn't have to go and play a bowl game. They decided not to go play a bowl game. So don't tell me how Notre Dame's better when they didn't play. How many? Maybe they lose if they're in a conference and they go to a conference championship game. Maybe they lose a bowl game. Maybe they don't look great, and maybe they still win, but that's the end of it. Come on, it's just a stupid way to go back on it, and it's constantly, you're having to reprove yourselves. But the one that really screws here, like, I'm sitting here telling you that yes, Alabama got the shit beat out of them yesterday. Okay, cool. Guess what? Indiana did that. It's not because Bama didn't belong. It's because Indiana was better. There's no guarantee Indiana's going to win the whole thing. But if Indiana wins the whole thing, or let's say Indiana gets beat in the next round by a team that they beat in the first part of the year, does that mean that they didn't belong? Come on, man. Give me a break. Coach, you're gonna stop talking like that in there, or else I'll just kick you out of here. And I can control that. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like it, but it's a fact too. And you do this crap all the time. I'm not going to listen to it. The bottom of the Big Ten is horrible. Yeah, the bottom of every conference is usually pretty bad. The bottom of every conference is usually pretty bad. But the middle of the Big Ten isn't very damn good either. If you were in the Big 12, you'd still be talking to. I didn't talk about the SEC then. I said that they were the best. I'm the one that will sit here and tell you that that's the best conference if it is the best conference. I'm not just saying you know damn good and well of all people, I'm the one person that's not just gonna sit here and tell you that the sky is blue if there's fire in there and it's red. I'm not gonna do it. Will not do it. And I just got done saying I was wrong about Indiana. And maybe I'm wrong about whether or not Alabama is going to still be good. I don't know. I feel like it was not a good look yesterday, and I think that they may have made the wrong hire. They may have, but I also would tell you that I don't agree with wholeheartedly what you're saying that it didn't matter who they hired, it wasn't going to go well. I don't agree with that part. So if you're Greg Byrne, you just don't hire anybody. Oh well, we're just going to suck. So oh well, let's just fast forward. And you as a coach, I know damn good and well that you wouldn't have treated it that way. You got offered the Alabama job after Nick Saban, you would have fucking taken it in a heartbeat. I told you to watch how you're talking in there. You don't need to use the F word every other word. You can argue without being an ass. So bye bye, lad. I don't care, man. If you just subscribed and you're out, yeah, it's a little. It is what it is around here. You don't have to like. You don't have to stay. Mm-mm-mm. Bottom of the Big Ten, 12 to 15 teams. I mean, I think there's eight that they, the way that I look at it is this, that there's eight teams that what the Big Ten does and does smartly is that it protects its brands from each other from year to year. Nobody plays more out of that eight teams that I talking about, which is like Washington, Penn State, uh, SC, obviously Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana now, Oregon. I think that's about it. Anyway, out of those teams, they're not going to play more than like three or four of the maybe Iowa in there as well. It's like 8, 9 teams maybe, but none of them. And that's what I was just going to go through here. If you look at Michigan, they finished 9-3 right out of the college football playoff. Um, they played four teams in the top 10 of the Big Ten this season that finished in the top 10. They beat Nebraska and Washington 10-9, while losing to USC and Ohio State, number 5 and number 2. Them losing to Oklahoma is what kept them out. If you look at that way, I mean, they could have lost those games and only those games, and had they not played Oklahoma, they're probably in the playoff, right? But they weren't going to lose more than that. So what does that mean? Does that mean Michigan's better or worse than what the record says they are? It's up to you to decide. It's up to you to decide. But the point is, they're doing their best to try to get as many teams as they can get into, and nobody's yelling about them. Nobody's yelling about the Big Ten like coaches in here making an ass of himself doing about the SEC. And the Big Ten had 5 teams last year, right? But nobody's screaming about them. It's always on the SEC, right? And I'm not telling you that the SEC doesn't do their part to make things how they are. They do. They're definitely flexing their muscle for winning 16 of 20 national championships. They are. For bringing the lion's share of the money to the game. They're doing that. No doubt about it. But they're not the only ones doing that. And it's not all, evil coming from ESPN and the SEC. The point that I make in the column, if you go read it, is that it's This is a content game, and they're using social media and people. They're stirring up this debate to build the sport, because in every game, the outcome of every game is now fuel to the fire that's already burning. It's just refueling it, and it brings the shit back up. It brings it back, right? So that's the point. You have to look at it in terms of this. I mean, fans don't have to fight with each other all the time just because there's going to be disagreements, and that's part of what sports talk is. That's part of it. It lends itself to arguing over who you think is better. Opinions are they're like assholes. Everybody's got one. Some people are better at arguing their opinions than others. But, and I'm not of the opinion, I've never been of the opinion that Notre Dame has to join a conference either. I've always said that if Notre Dame is going to join a conference, it'll only be because they've been forced to by the Big Ten and the SEC, who now run the playoff. Yeah, you're going to have to stop doing that there, Lexus. That freaks everybody right out. Mm. What's the word? What's the world getting to when you can't argue about football without someone getting real mad, real big mad? Well, I'll tell you what the world's coming to. This is what is going on because of all this televising everything. I mean, do we need to have a weekly show on their rankings? No, but they do. And to where you have a guy like like Hunter Yurachek coming out there and explaining or trying to explain without telling you everything why they came up with what they did. Because the reason, I guarantee you, the biggest reason that Notre Dame people are pissy is because the way that they moved it around the week before the final week. They jumped Bama, or who did that? Yeah. They switched out Bama and Notre Dame the week before so that way they were closer to the Miami thing, and whatever happened, they were still trying to keep Notre Dame in. But they were probably trying to keep Bama in more. Bama was the number one finisher in the SEC. They would have been conference champions if you don't have a conference championship game. End of story. They deserved their spot in the playoff. Now, by the rules and the way that they do it, they deserve their spot in the playoff. I'm not saying that Notre Dame didn't deserve to be in. I'm saying that it's not them over that. And really, here's the other part of it, the group of six, the group G5, it's actually G6, but everybody calls it the G5. The group of six is the bigger problem here. And this isn't me being a hater or anything like that. And the reason they don't belong, and this is just as simple as it makes. Look, Notre Dame's in and BYU's in if the G6 isn't in. They are. But here's the thing about that. And I love how, I mean, Tim Brando, what a guy. Talking about they supply you with, your cupcakes and all that stuff. Yeah. He says that about the SEC all the time, right? But where's your outrage at the new conference that you work in, that you call games for, getting all these G6 cupcakes to play you in bowl games and pad your bowl record that nobody gives a crap about, or apparently people do care about? Just like that, the bowl record matters. Now that's what we're talking about. Look, I've said this 1,000 times. Too many people want to do that. They do have a conference game. You're right. They do. They still finished. They finished ahead And according to the way that they select, which I've said they could change the way that they select all the time if they want to. If the SEC thinks for 1 second that you're going to punish their runner up in the SEC, they're going to stop playing that game. You know it, and I know it. So, again, you don't have to play one. So it's easy for you to sit here and be like, well, they lost their conference championship game. Well, you don't even play one. Again, it's not even about one. I can make an argument either way. All day long, I could do this shit. The point is, we're getting mad at the wrong people. You're mad at Bama fans for being happy their team got in, and you're mad because your team didn't get in, and they're pissed, and the world is pissed off at Notre Dame and Bama or Oklahoma too in this because Oklahoma lost their first round game, so they didn't belong in the playoff. How stupid is that? None of that shit makes sense. Why do they have to put a G? Okay, here's I'm just the long and short of it. That's a good question right there. Yeah, yeah. You know what? The conference champions, how have they done in the playoffs? You're talking about the teams that have gotten buys in the playoffs. Yeah, they're 1-7. Guess what? Guess what's about to change? Guess what's about to change? Those teams that is no longer. Look at Dan Lanning. That is no longer going to be a neutral site game. Watch. Dan Lanning said it even after he beat Texas Tech. The only winner, or the only bar team that's gotten a win in their first game in that has been Indiana. Georgia's lost twice now. They tweaked it, still didn't work. So now they're going to make a home game for that too. Go watch something else, Coach. Then if you want to be so pissy, you don't like my opinion, go watch something else. Don't watch. I'm gonna keep on saying what's real. And you are pissed off at everybody that isn't pro Notre Dame. You are. I know you are. You know you are. Everybody's supposed to tiptoe around you. Get out of here with that shit. Nobody's going to. Nobody's going to. And you're texting me, talking shit to me too? Okay. I'm not even arguing. I can argue any way you want to about it. The selection process, I will tell you all day long, needs to be worked on a lot. A lot. The G6 teams, okay, the question was asked. Why do they have to put the G5, G6 teams in? I'll tell you why. Because the rules in the selection process are these. The top 5 conference champions, the top 5 ranked college conference champions get automatic bids into the dance. The top 5. The ACC, which is who Notre Dame's also really pissy at, and I get it. They made it real dumb. Okay, their tiebreaker allowed a 5-loss Duke team that's not ranked at all to get into the conference championship game, and they ended up winning it. Now, had Virginia beaten Duke, Virginia goes in instead of James Madison. But you still would have had one. But the problem is and that's all well good. That's as big a part of it. I mean, the ACC is screwy on that side of it. They got to fix that. I'm sure that'll be fixed by the time we get around to this next year. I don't know, but they needed to clean that one up because They weren't letting Duke anywhere close to the damn playoff, or else the whole world would have exploded. But because they weren't ranked, though. But because James Madison was ranked in the top 25 and they're a conference champion, so was Tulane, they're a conference champion. They both get in. But Virginia would have been ranked ahead of them had they won. Now, if you look at James Madison, they played one Power Four conference team in their schedule. One. They played Louisville. They lost by multiple scores. Now, Tulane, on the other hand, they beat Northwestern in week one. They beat Duke as well. This is funny. They beat Duke as well. And then they played Ole Miss after the Duke game, and they got beat by 5 touchdowns. And I'm not talking about the playoff. This is during the pre-conference. Now, any other year, that would not have been enough. I mean, if they're in any other conference, that would not be enough for them to get in the CFP. If you're Tulane, that Tulane team is not going to get through the SEC for sure, but it probably doesn't get through the ACC as a conference champion either, or the Big 12. So the problem with the entirety of it that I feel like is, if you're going to let the G5 in, and I think Dave's here said this the other day, all you have to do is the same as everybody else. If you can get ranked into the top 12 or 16 or whatever it is, then fine, let them in. But allowing them in on lesser, they don't have to reach the same levels as power schools is not fair. That's who everybody really ought to be pissy, instead of at Bama or instead of at Oklahoma or instead of at whoever you want to be pissed off at. Miami. I don't care. You want to be mad at somebody, be pissed off at the fact that the selection process allows for group of 6 teams to get into the playoff, and an automatic bid at that, without being ranked among the top teams in the country. However many teams are going to be in the playoff. That's a problem. But that's not Bama's problem or the SEC's problem or ESPN's problem. It's everybody's problem. It's everybody's problem. Shots fired at Texas Tech. Coach will love you for that one. That was a trash game. And you can't sit here and tell me how great your defense is when you gave up 23 points. You played pretty good for a while, but you gave up 23 and couldn't score. You got thumped. Right. They're mad at Miami for getting in. They're mad at Bama when JMU and Tulane get in. Correct. That's what I'm talking about, man. And I don't care about you don't even have to do their own playoff thing. They can do that if they want to. I think that would be fine. But to me, if they do that, then they lose out on whatever their cut would be anyway, and they get money even if they get in or not. Their conferences get money because they're part of Division One. They're part of the FBS, which is the group. So they're going to get their money. It ain't going to be as much by a long shot. Mm-hmm. Tech defense was still whatever, bro. It wasn't that good. Wasn't that good. Their quarterback was definitely not that good. But we told you that the other day. That's what I told you the other night. Why they were going to get the shit kicked out of them. You didn't want to hear it. Who wasn't a top 12 team? Notre Dame had a good season. Should have let Jeremiah Love go out in a bowl game. Um, Notre Dame probably belonged. If we're talking about the best teams, Notre Dame was one of the best teams. You can argue about it if you want to. If you're looking at it through reality, you know better. Mm. BCS model would have included Notre Dame, no doubt, no doubt. Look, you have to play more than look. Unless you're playing a power four, if you're having bottom line is you should have to be ranked in the top 12 or 16, whatever it ends up. If you're going to do that, one or the other, you got to do it. You either have to play a power four schedule or you've got to be able to get ranked. And however that happens is fine. If they're good enough to be in it like that and get ranked, then cool. But you're gonna, I mean, Tulane has got the right idea that they're playing multiple Power Four schools, but beating Northwestern isn't that doesn't do it for anybody. Beating Duke with 5 losses, that looks cool whenever you say, okay, well, Duke was the conference champions. They should have never been in the conference championship game. They should have never been in the conference championship game. Anyway, that's the way I look at it on that. But in the end, it's all just about this. It really is. It's the playoff industrial complex. And they're drumming up all the, you know what? It's just more content for all of them. And I'm not even saying anything really bad about ESPN or Fox or anybody else like that. I don't care about that. They're doing their job is to try to make money and to get to drum up interest in the sport that they're putting on television for ratings, right? You don't think that they would rather have Notre Dame in than not have Notre Dame in? They would. That's why they made up that dumb excuse about not putting Miami, not comparing Miami and Notre Dame to each other until they were ranked right next to each other. It's the dumbest excuse I've ever heard. Dumbest excuse. They played each other. They had identical records throughout the year. Miami, what? They lost 2 games in 3 weeks, and that was by like what, week 8, week 9? They drop them all the way back, and then they had to win what, 4 or 5 games, I guess it was, to get back to where they were in contention there. But in the end, when they lost the second game, they had the same amount of losses as Notre Dame. Now, by the way, Notre Dame won 10 in a row. And if you're going by hottest team in the country, cool. I don't even have a problem with that. Again, I don't have a problem with that. And I think that Notre Dame is one of the best teams in the country. That being said, when you lose 2 games and you don't have a ton of games that are great on the schedule, and coach was saying that about Oklahoma a few years ago when they went 10-2 in the Big 12, but did get to the Big 12 championship game. They obviously weren't going to go to a 14 playoff. But he kept talking about how you haven't played nobody. Okay. Cool. It happens. Some of these schedules are trash. Some of these schedules are trash. But in the end, the best win that Notre Dame had was against SC. And I don't even know where they finished ranked. I mean, now it'll be, the end of the season where they were ranked. It's got to be what, 15, 16? Maybe 20th. I don't know. I don't even remember. Anyway, it is what it is. It's in the end, all of this stuff is just it drums up more, but it's eroding it's eroding the sport though. Because if we can't sit here and say that damn, Indiana's just good, we got to sit here and say that Bama didn't deserve to be in because they lost and got their ass kicked. We're just going to do that every time we start talking about this stuff. This because they didn't deserve to be in. I didn't say that Tech didn't deserve to be in. I just said that they weren't as good as their record says there was. I certainly don't believe that they were good enough to be one of the top 4 teams in the country. Now, they did win their conference championship and they had one loss. They had one loss to a team that nobody was talking about for the playoff, Houston. Okay. I mean, again, you could tell there was a big difference between them and Oregon. A big difference. Now, Texas Tech's defense on the line, like their first group on the line, yeah, they're pretty damn good. Their linebackers, yeah, they're pretty good. They weren't good enough to shut them down. They were able to move the ball. And their offensive line could not handle what Oregon was bringing at all. Yeah, because it doesn't have SC in it. Because it doesn't have SC in it. Yeah, they're not going to join it. They're not going to join. If they're going to join a conference, it probably is not going to be the SEC or the ACC. I mean, well, I mean, yeah. I'm not. I mean, Tech fought. They fought for it, and theoretically, they were in the game in the second half, but they really weren't. Oregon was never in danger of losing that game from the first field goal. They just weren't. Uh, I think that guarantee is only good if it's still a 12-team playoff, but I think it will be next year. Maybe. It feels like it will be next year. But it's supposed to go to 16 pretty soon, and it probably will go to 16 soon, and then that'll be out the door. But they didn't need that on paper shit to know that if they're within the top whatever, that they're going to give them the benefit of the doubt more than not. Now, that narrative, that guarantee of getting in, if it's a 16-team playoff, they have to be in the top 12 to get in, for sure. Probably not. They're going to put them in. But there's no guarantees of that if you see what's going on. And the truth be told, and I said this to Coach the other night, if they are going to join a conference, they're probably having to think about it at this point because of the fact that they got left out. When they felt like they had a 10-game winning streak and got left out. I would tell you that they were doing everything they could to not leave them out because they didn't want, Fox nor ESPN wanted Notre Dame out of this thing. They would have rather had Miami out. Believe that. They got put between a rock and a hard place to where they didn't have a choice but to do that. Because now they had them ranked next to each other, which was stupid anyway, that they weren't already thinking about. And head-to-head should matter, always. And I would tell you that I still think Notre Dame might have been better than Miami at this year. They might have been. I think they were. Maybe not in the trenches, but and that may be the equalizer too. But I think Miami's playing better since they got to the playoff than they were at points of this year too. So that's what the memorandum of understanding is. They're the ones that released it. That was Notre Dame. They said that. Uh, if you win the ACC, who can bitch? Earn your place. I'm not going to sit here and go and doing the earn your shit. There's not. Bottom line is, you can't say that they didn't belong in the playoff in 24. They got to to the damn national championship game. They beat Georgia. They beat Penn State. You know, Penn State got they got to beat Penn State got to the semifinal, beating Boise and um, SMU. You know, come on, man, come on. So, and that their team was better this year than it was the year before. You can say that they didn't deserve to be in, but the truth is they probably did. But again, I don't think it's because of Miami, and I don't think it's because of Alabama that they didn't get in. I think it's, if you look at it, it was the G5 and probably it was Duke that screwed them the most, which is why they're screaming at the ACC. You know, yeah. No, I agree with that part. Again, I could argue it either way, but I would tell you if I'm making an argument on my opinion, I look going by what the standards are, what they've got on the standards are, and what they say that they select them by that criteria. Then Notre Dame could not get in over Miami. They could put them both in. They can't put Notre Dame over Miami in. Cannot. They have the same fucking record, about the same strength of schedule. In fact, Miami's was a little tougher, and Miami beat them head to head. You can't do it. Now, were they looking for a way to do that? They were. They were. For ratings purposes, they were. Because they know that Notre Dame, as I said before, the Northeast part of the country doesn't watch a lot of college football. They watch Notre Dame college football. The numbers are out there. You can go find them. And that's the only way you're going to get them. That's the only way you're going to get a lot of views is if Notre Dame is in it. Right now, they're probably losing a lot of views up in that area because there's nobody from that area. I don't know that Indiana really helps, you know. But like Rutgers is just outside of New York City and nobody watches them. But they got their own stations in New York. Notre Dame does. Radio and television. So it is what it is, man. Miami's definitely physical, very physical. touched on multiple coaches and ADs have said that Sark and CDC both said playing Notre Dame is no benefit. Okay. They would. I mean, it makes sense for Texas to say that. It makes sense for Texas to say that. You know, Texas was one of the next teams that would have made it in. They were one, but they wouldn't have made it in over Notre Dame with 3 losses. They wouldn't have. So that, of course, when you go through that or whatever at that moment, again, the point I was trying to make to start all of this was that this is ridiculous to go back and, like I said, let's go to BYU and Utah. Who the hell? I mean, look, I think Georgia Tech was pretty good. I think Nebraska was awful, but getting through your schedule if you're BYU with 1 loss, cool. I think BYU's pretty good. They weren't good enough to beat Texas Tech that I saw get drugged yesterday. And if you think that your 2 losses or 1 loss during the regular season is better than the 2 that Alabama had in the regular season, or your 2 are better than the 3, makes you better than the 3-loss Alabama after the conference championship weekend, I got to disagree with you. And when Utah couldn't beat either of them or Texas Tech, I don't want to hear from you. And you beat Nebraska. Nobody cares. Devin Dampier can't throw. Nebraska's worse than you. Cool. We knew that. We already knew they were bad. They were number 10 in the Big Ten. And a bad Big Ten. A bad Big Ten. They're number 10. I think they lost to freaking Northwestern. Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing, and it's week after week. Next week it'll be the same thing. Next week it'll be the same thing. You know, and it's the semifinals, but they'll use it for the same way. They will. It is what it is. BYU could not do anything with Tech. Beat them by 22 in the regular season, 27. Right. Hard for the committee to let them in after that showing. Look. I would tell you that I think that BYU probably belonged in. If they're the Big 12 is the one conference that hasn't got a second team in. You know, they weren't going to get a second team in the first year because of that ended them with 3 losses or whatever. They weren't going to do that. And this year, I mean, hell, if you're not going to get in an 11-1 pre-conference championship game, then when are you going to get in? And they weren't ranked inside of that area to get into the playoff before the conference championship game either. Which, again, you can argue whether that's fair or not. You can argue that point if you want to. But I don't have any. I mean, I think that the problem is not with what side you come down on. That's not it. The problem is the selection and the way that we're going about it. That we're, these networks are using social media and the people that are on social media to fight these battles and drum up the interest. But it's eroding the sport and it's hurting the teams that win. I mean, is it fair for us to sit here and just sit there and say that Bama doesn't belong in? And I'm not talking about is it fair for Alabama? Is it fair for Indiana for you to say that Alabama didn't belong? It isn't. It's not fair. Now, fair is where they go to judge pigs. I've said this a bunch, but it isn't. That's what erodes the sport. Because if you can't take the result of, if we're not going to take the result of Indiana beating Bama, I mean, you're not going to give Indiana the credit for beating Bama, then I mean, what are you going to give? Then none of the results matter. It's just more fuel to your argument. It's just more fuel for your argument. That's what I'm saying in the column. Go and check it out. It's in the top of the description. Let me know what you think about it. There's going to be more to come on different parts of it because there's so many things to come through. I mean, I've got an outline that's freaking forever long. I stayed up all night doing it. And it is what it is. But there's a lot to it. But I think that, look, I love the game. I love college football, and coaches sit here and tell me that, coach was sitting in there saying that I'm just all biased towards one team. I'm not. I love the game. As a matter of fact, this year coming up, I'm pretty much not going to be just covering Oklahoma anymore, just so everybody knows that. More than likely, anyway. It looks like what I'm working towards is to be going to the game of the week in the SEC and seeing, I'm going to be working with another company, but still on my own as well. So I'm not just going to be covering OU. Now, will I still follow OU? Of course. Will I still talk about OU? Of course. But I'm also going to be covering it. And this is what I want to do and what I've been wanting to do for a long time is to be covering all of it again. Because as a reporter, that's what I did. So, and in the end, as much as I love Oklahoma, I love college football. I love all this shit. I love watching it all. I even like all the arguments. But what I don't like is these narratives that get driven up and you don't have to like the team and you don't necessarily have to agree that they should have been in over your team, but losing after the fact, once you've set the field, losing after the fact should not be able to be used against you. There's only going to be one champion. There's only going to be one team that doesn't win, that wins out. So I don't know. That's my start. Jason is jumping in the portal. That's hilarious. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I get it, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And that's where, man, I love OU, but I got to tell you another thing. Some of it is OU content is getting tough, man, sometimes. But I love Oklahoma, and I hope that they win every week. But I pay attention. I watch every freaking football game that I could possibly watch, man. I mean, I really do. I'm the guy that's up at freaking 2 a.m. When the last games from the West Coast are ending. That or watching on Wednesday nights when the Sun Belt's playing. I'm trying to, man. And and being able to move around the conference and having the mobile studio, that was the intention of that was to be mobile. I thought about just doing it as just an Oklahoma creator and going to every Oklahoma game, but that would, I mean, I could also just go to every place in the SEC or as many as possible over the 14 weeks of the season next year. Yeah. Hey, listen, when I start making, you got to make money to go bankrupt, bro. I haven't made much. It's really, it hadn't been enough to pay for all, but I need to find a way to pay for all this stuff, that all the investment I've got in it, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the opportunity's there, but you got to go. You got to go make it, and you got to get the. You got to get the. It's about advertisers and stuff like that. I don't have them yet. But the guys that I mean, I've got affiliate deals. That all depends on you guys going and buying stuff like that. Like going to uh, the Fanatics, or getting on with my bookie. You know, any of that kind of stuff. Cristobal quit Oregon. Remember? Who? What? Cristobal Oklahoma would still won if he stayed. Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Yeah, all at the end of the day are going to be upset except for the champ, no doubt. Hmm. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that, Johnny boy. Jeremiah BV runs a front seven heavy, exotic blitzes. That's what makes him good. Yeah, they do a good job. He does a fantastic job with defense. Now it's time to figure out the offense because it ain't what it needs to be. Oh man, yeah, they should have been in. It is what it is, man. And I appreciate all you guys coming in. And sorry if I barked at anybody. I do that sometimes. But in the end, look, here's the deal. You just have to look at. I want to see more. I'd love it if you didn't. I love the back and forth between fan bases and stuff like that. But and even look, I get it. It's easy to sit here and put everything off on the SEC, but the Big Ten's doing the same thing, and nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that, right? I mean, and to me, there's some things that the Big Ten does that's just as bad or worse. They have a bigger deal with Fox than what SEC has with ESPN. They make more money, and they're playing weaker schedules, and that's a fact. So it is what it is, but these narratives get driven, and But it's I can guarantee you that SEC or ESPN and Fox don't give a crap. They're going to continue, and even like a lot of people get mad at Joe Klatt, and like I'm kind of getting sick of listening to Tim Brando, right? Tim Brando used to work in the SEC week after week. I don't want to hear you talking shit about the SEC now because now you're with the Big Ten, and you still do some Big 12. Because I think it's like a 70-30 split that ESPN has with Fox on the Big 12, right? So, in any event, they're obviously more in bed with the SEC than anybody else. They have a bigger investment there. They're going to push that league. That makes sense. But the Fox does the same thing with the Big 12 and then some. Klatt does. Even if they don't intend to, it's gonna shape towards their way because they're getting paid off of it. Brando and Klatt, and a lot of them, right? The SEC guys are. I mean, even if you intend to or not, you're gonna, you know, air towards the SEC and in their favor. That's fine, but you can't just make it one sided though. You just can't. And if you do, and we're doing this, like I said, if we're going to continue to go well after they've gotten into the playoffs, now the playoffs are down to the semifinals. You know, I think it's getting kind of crazy. I'll tell you this much: knowing that they're 1-7, expect that to be the next big change. Is either they're going to go to 16 and there's not going to be buys at all, or they're going to do what Dan Lanning's talking about, and you're going to get a home game for the conference champion, even though they got a buy or whatever. They're going to do that. Something's going to change. They bet your ass it'll change. because, but I mean, you can see why these teams that I mean, look, Indiana's they're the only ones that won in 2 years that got a bye. Basically, they were off over a month. Even from the conference championship weekend was the end of November, and they played on January 1st. It's a month. That's a long time to be off. Now, it was always that way with bowls. And what Dan Lanning keeps saying is that it's you can't serve both ends and keep it fair or equitable to the teams that are winning and doing what, he was saying that they shouldn't have been playing at the Orange Bowl. They should have been in Lubbock, which I'm sure, they appreciate him for that. But he was also saying that he shouldn't have been playing at the Rose Bowl last year against Ohio State. They should have been a home game for him because they beat them in the regular season. Okay. I don't mind if they do the first two rounds at home. That'd be cool. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I also think that they need to. I don't know. Klatt's been saying that you should be done by January 5th. I don't know that they're going to get to that point. I don't know if they are. But I don't think it needs to bleed into February or damn near February anyway. There a lot of weeks off, man, in between. You should go right into them. The Army and Navy stuff that gets in the way. They got a bunch of reasons. Finals, whatever. Stop acting like any of that matters. We know better. Fix it. Just fix it. And they will. They will. Because these teams that are losing these games, they're going to blame it on that. Although I didn't hear Kirby blame it on that last night, and he shouldn't have. It was a hell of a football game, by the way. Hell of a football game. The running back from Colorado State, yeah, he looks pretty good, man. His name is, I got to remember his name, though. Joe John fired. How happy are you Oklahoma fans about Joe John? Kiffin couldn't beat his own dad. Thank you, Liberty. Appreciate it. Oh, Liberty Biberty. Appreciate it, man. Was Kiffin the reason Ole Miss lost to UJ in the regular season? Yeah, I've seen a lot of memes go around. There was I saw a meme from of him with clown paint on his face. Let's see. I'll pull it up. Ta-da! Too much. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Trey Wisner may come to OU. I don't know, man. I know they're not going to pay him $1 million, and that's what he was supposedly asking for at Texas. I'll tell you this: would it surprise me? Probably not. Cam Coleman and Nompton. I don't know. Is that happening? Do I need to be looking at something? Is there something I'm missing? No announcements on 3. Is it on? Is it on Twitter and I just missed it? Gentry Williams announcing it. Knew that was kind of coming. That sucks. But you had to expect that one too. He's visiting Norman. I just saw that. Barstool Sooners. Okay, okay. Okay, 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 okay. Ruh-roh. Yeah. Ole Miss is, hey man, I give it to Ole Miss. And Oklahoma should have beat them, but they didn't. They came back and got ahead, and then they lost, off of a turnover. But I'll tell you this, um, that was a hell of a football game last night. They're good though. And again, Trinidad Chambliss, bro. Woof. He's fantastic. He's fantastic. Barstool's saying that he's visiting Oil Trash. It's on. I just saw that on. I haven't seen it on 3, so I'm not positive about it. But Swamp Ass. I know it. The Chudouge. Kyle, is that right? The Chudouge. The Red Ass. I used to know a guy in Houston that was from Louisiana. That's what he called it. The Chudouge. Did okay. Yeah. They got everybody there. I mean, right now they got everybody there, but Lane. So they're doing a good. They did a hell of a job. I don't know how foolish it is or not. You really won't know if that's true or not, T Boomer, until it's over with. It's a chance that he could win the national championship, but he may not. What's bullshit at this point? Talking about Cam is, or are you calling swamp ass bullshit? Play on Compton. Yeah. Oh, Nompton. There's going to be a lot of money there. It's definitely worth a lot of money. Look, if they have it, they have it. We don't have to worry about the money that they spend. It's, that's boosters and they put it out there. If they can go get them, then they go get them. But the swamp ass part is bullshit. It's not called the Chudouge. You never answered me on that. Oklahoma Sooners Brian Moss, a 16-year-old football standout at Vieira High School. Oh man. That sucks. Damn. I hate hearing that. I didn't see that. Yeah, he got that in his contract. Yeah, he got $500,000 for winning last night. So that's what, 700 that he's gotten so far? 750? I think by the time all said and done, it'd be like $2 million. I don't know. Think Ole Miss will get this close again once this is all over. Well, I don't know. I think it's going to depend on. Look. I know that Mississippi's been known to have the bagman, and now they don't have to use the bagman. They can just do it. Go back and think about what was going on with Dan Mullen at State when Hugh Freeze was at Ole Miss. They were both winning. So if they could do that then, they could do it now because the money's there. I mean, they got real money at those schools. Maybe not as much at Mississippi State, but it's there somewhere. Once you get a taste of winning and it works, I mean, I think it's going to depend on whether or not this coach can smooth them like that. He's winning. He's doing well. He's doing well. Oh, okay, yeah. It sucks having it, no doubt. It's the worst to have the red ass, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say that, but Lane Kiffin is not the only coach that can coach, and he's not the only coach that's won there in the last 10, 15 years either. So I would say, if they get the right guy, and maybe they have him, third and Golding. Maybe old third and Golding. Alabama fans tell you otherwise. But seems like he's got them going. They're fine. Yeah, I can't blame him either. There may be, but there may not be either. It's easy to say that, but they have money to be able to pay guys, and the brand is building every time that they're on television. So, do I think it's easier to win at LSU? I do. I do. He was. He was. Yeah, but I mean, bro, you realize the guys that have played there? DK Metcalf, freaking, they've had some ballers there, man. They've had some ballers there. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I look, got to wait and see, man. I think that it's tougher to win there than it's going to be to win at Alabama. It is, but it just depends, though. You know what I mean? It just kind of depends. I think if you find the right guy, you got a chance. You got a chance. I think the Florida's about to start winning. Summerall is a good coach. That guy, geez, just wins. You know, they're going to have to get pretty heavy in the portal, though. What do we think about him moving to tight end coach? I'm fine with it, but I think if you can get Witten, that means you get his kid, and I think that's what they're in for. And then Witten, I mean, Witten's a Hall of Fame tight end, so he knows how to play the position. I don't know how he is as a coach, but I did see something when he was like working with ESPN for a while where like he was pretty good in the meeting rooms, breaking down stuff, things like that. I mean, it feels like he could teach it. And I mean, kind of like DeMarco, he'll recruit well. It's Jason Witten. Wouldn't hurt my feelings if he did that. But I also don't think that, I mean, Kevin Wilson doesn't have to have that job to stay. You can make him assistant head coach or whatever you want. It wouldn't bother me for them to get Witten and keep, and because I don't think that Kevin Wilson's going anywhere. Be honest with you, he's still getting paid off from Tulsa. So I mean, right now I think it works the way they need it to work. Yeah, AJ Brown, another one. Yes, of course. They were there together too. Shit. Yeah, they've had some ballers, man. They've had some ballers. Then why don't they win? Why haven't they been winning? Not sure that they got the coach hire correct. You don't like Golding, Pete Golding? A lot of people like him as an X's and O's guy. I don't know how he is as a recruiter or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, and we're not going to know that until coming up. I mean, maybe. It's easy to say that, but we'll see. DeMarco was one of the best running back coaches, so was Joe John at tight end. DeMarco was one of the best running backs, and he's a coach. I get what you're getting at. Maybe he's not a good coach. I'll say this: he's been a head coach for 5 years in high school, which isn't the same. But if he's wanting to get into college football, position coach is kind of where you go, right? You know, this is what it is. Yeah, maybe he was the best running backs coach. He was certainly the best recruiter at running backs coach. Yeah, but this is you're talking about the best, the winningest coach in Notre Dame history couldn't win at LSU, and I get it. It was a fit thing. I understand that. No, should Lane win? He should. He hasn't won anything though, so until he does, we're gonna wait and see. It's easy to project that way, and you could be right. You could be right, but listen, I got to see him actually do it. Win a conference championship. Win a conference championship. Then we'll talk. Is he going to get a lot of good players? Yeah, they got money. They're not the only team that has money either. So it is what it is. Do you think it's? Do you think that's happening for sure? There, Sooner Cowboys. They haven't said it, or unless it's in the last 10 minutes. All right. Yeah, I know. Rush two, drop eight with one spy, and still had wide receiver opening spots. Penn State played Oregon and Indiana better than these playoffs teams. Stop with the Big Ten is not so deep. Is not deep. No, I'm not going to stop with that. It's not deep. It sucks. They also lost to UCLA. What are we talking about? I have not heard anything about where Mike's going yet. I've got a column I'm working on with that too, but I haven't gotten it done yet. You think he sucked at being a color commentator, but he was good. What I was talking about was when they do their meetings and stuff. Like he knew the game. He just knew the game on like a different level. It may not have moved over to being a color guy, but it's pretty easy. Quarterback. Quarterback would help. Quarterback needs to get a lot better. But they've got the same guy, and he's just coming back. So I don't expect him to get a quarterback in the portal. That's not going to happen. Bishop Frank, salute back. Thank you for the super chat. Um, I don't know. I didn't say he was a fraud either. I just said he hadn't won anything. I think that it's clear they've been better with him than they've ever been. There's no doubt about that. For that extended period. Talking what, 6 years, and like all 6 years they won at least 10? Or all but the first, all but a couple of them maybe? Very good. They've been very good. Yeah, they might have to go there for that. I don't know. Either that or it'll be old Bo Bentley, the clone, the Mateer clone. Mm. He better be better next year, is all I gotta say. He's gotta be better, or they don't go anywhere without it. Because I don't know that the defense is gonna be as good. It may be, but I mean, you have to expect some kind of drop off when you lose some of these guys. You know? I would do that too. I could see that. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what they're gonna do, and I don't think that they could bring him in as an assistant to this, and analysts can coach too. So you know what I mean, and they could do that for sure. I'll tell you this much, and House, I think you could be right on too with that. What I would tell you is Venables trusts Kevin Wilson with that job, no doubt. I mean, he taught Joe John to be great, and Jermaine Gresham. I mean, he hell, Kevin Wilson is the architect of the greatest Oklahoma offense ever. You know, Send your portal guys to Athens, Georgia. What up, motivated? How much NIL money does Oklahoma have? Because my friend says LSU has 25 mil to spend. Yeah, I think Oklahoma's right there. From what I've heard, I think it's 25, 30. I think they're right there. I know that what I heard as far back as like before the season and shit. When they were talking about recruiting plus the portal, all that shit. They were basically saying that they had enough to make sure that Texas had to spend every dollar to get the guys that they both wanted. So doesn't mean you're going to beat Texas on all of those or anything like that, but what it means is they're going to have to spend it. So I've heard it was upwards of $30 million, man. So we'll see, man. I don't know. That's what I think. Yeah, no shit. It's on. Of course it is, and it's on Ben. It's on Ben Arbuckle, and it's on BV, and you know to make sure that Arbuckle's doing the right thing, which more so than Ben Arbuckle. I mean, Ben Arbuckle's young and he's learning and all that shit. I'll still tell you that I think that's if you're still having to babysit a guy, then he shouldn't be your OC. But that ship has sailed. So figure it out. Mentor him to be what he needs to be. Demand and hold accountable that he be what he needs to be. And the same goes with that quarterback. I mean, Coach Venables may not be an offensive guy. He could pull that motherfucker out if he wanted to. He could have decided who the quarterback was going to be. He could have. He didn't. This is on V as much as it's on anybody else. And I love Coach Venables. Love the guy. But it's your football team. I don't want to hear about your defense, bro. We know you know how to do that. Now take us the rest of the way. He talks a lot about doing the hard stuff that it takes. How hard it is. What is it? How does he say it? To do the things that winning demands. The same can be said for his position. We know where he's comfortable. We know where he isn't. Get comfortable, bro. Time. Yeah. Yep. That's correct. That's correct. He still has the notion of Cam Ward, you know? And what Mateer did at Washington State. And he's been hurt. I mean, he's going to be found out before long if he don't get his shit together, House. I'll tell you that much. You know what I'm saying? He's going to get found out before long. If I'll tell you this much. If that dude is a bullshitter and he's not real and he's not as good as everybody made him out to be, we'll know sooner than later. Hey man, easy on that stuff. You don't have to say stuff like that. I get what you're saying, but bro, come on. I'm gonna do that already. All right, guys. We'll take a look and see kind of what's coming up here in the next few weeks. Make sure you get over there and check out the column that I wrote and be ready for the ones coming up. There, it's in the description, and it's actually in the chat as well. But I will put it in one more time about the college football playoffs industrial complex. That is the big problem, not who's in it. Get in there and check it out. Let me know what you think about it when you do. I'd appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button for us before you go. Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind them chewing their asses out. I could give a shit. I think, and I don't think that players mind getting their asses chewed out when they don't play well. And for motivational, I mean, look, BV is a screamer, still is. He may not do it as much on the sideline as he used to because he doesn't, but he still does. I mean, you don't find very many defensive players that have played for Venables that don't love that dude, and he's hard on them. Coach Roybal would tell you the kids want to be coached hard. You're going to have to love on them too. You can't just. My granddad is a Hall of Fame coach in high school. He'd tell you the same thing. They want to be coached hard. You got to love on them just as hard, but you got to coach them hard. That's what they want. Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the deal. What did I say about that? He put that player over the success of the fucking team. His success was more important than the success of the team. Go watch KJ Daniels' 12 minutes of Hawkins film and tell me that Hawkins could not have done better than a broken down Mateer. If you can tell me that after watching that film, I'll listen to you. I mean, you'll have to prove it. But I mean, guys, it is what it is. It's hard to trust him. But here's the thing. Here's what I'll say to that, Mac, and then I'm going to get out of here. Feels like Arbuckle's going to waste another good defense next year. Don't trust him. Okay, well, you've got to throw in there that if you don't trust that to happen, then that means you don't trust Brent Venables either, because it's his football team. He can make sure that it happens. He could go to Kevin Wilson if he had to. That's just what I'm gonna say. All right, appreciate everybody coming in. Ooh, if you had a list, a set of understanding a player has to have to be at OU, what would it be? It's a good question. You know what? I'm going to screenshot that and think about it. Folks, everybody in there, you should think about that and let's come up with that for the next show on Monday. Come up with that for Monday. I want yours, House Money. It's a great question. Love that question. Question of the week. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. We will see you on the next one. Love you guys. Happy New Year.